Hi, I'm Andy Ellis. I'm the host of this show and a potential Green Party candidate for governor of Maryland in 2026. I'm using this show to highlight interesting people and ideas that help me and you to understand what is happening and what is possible. You can learn more about the campaign by going to gogreen2026.com. Guests on this show do not necessarily support my campaign or the Green Party. They've agreed to come on to discuss ideas and issues. And of course, click the subscribe button on YouTube so you can keep up to date with this podcast.
Andy, what's your position on the state's involvement in high school and lower school curriculum? You think there's a role there or not?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of discussion about this, and it focuses on a lot of issues of race, gender, and sexuality, and things like that. And I think these are important things that need to be wrestled with. One of the things that I think is great for me about spending so much time around educators is that I have a great group of folks that I will be able to turn to as governor on this question and seek guidance on it. But let me say a couple of things about the issue broadly. First, aside from those hot button cultural issues that oftentimes take up the curriculum space, we need to start thinking about what it looks like to have multilingual schools. Maryland has a large immigrant population, and it is going to continue to have a growing immigrant population. And a part of the curriculum discussion that doesn't happen enough is how we start shaping our curriculum to deal with the fact that most of our schools in Maryland are increasingly multilingual. My friend Owen Silverman Andrews and I had a great podcast last year about this question. And I would really like to make sure that if I'm governor, one of the things we focus on is making sure that the curriculum is accounting for the reality of multilingual schools. Second thing I would say about this is I think mostly this stuff happens at the local level. I think for the most part that the school boards, elected school boards, should be the last decider on what happens in public schools outside of general provisions handed down by the state. And the people need to contest local school board elections. Local school boards are important, they matter. And I think that for public schools, they should be the level of decision making that is most accessible to the people in the community, but also has the most authority to set policy across the schools. The last thing I would say about this is while I don't think we should make it easy for people to opt out of public school curriculum, I do think we should make it much easier for people to do things like form homeschooling cooperatives. There was a really good article in the Baltimore Banner recently about how more and more Black Marylanders are taking advantage of homeschooling cooperatives, homeschooling networks, and things like that. And I think it's important to support that innovation, not just for Black folks, but for people across the state and of all sorts of political persuasions. And now, I say this because I think that public schools should be a public good. I don't think the parents should really be opting out of curriculum in public schools, but I do think if parents want to start educating their children in a different way, that they should have the ability to do that. Now, I think that's going to be a difficult discussion to have because we have to make sure that the education standards and the health and the welfare of the young people are being met, and we have to make sure that it's not taking away from public school dollars. But if we can do that, I think we can have a pretty good setup where elected school boards make decisions on a local level about what some of the issues are with guidance from the state. And then if parents don't like that and want to have a different emphasis in their education, they can look into homeschooling networks that are supported outside of public education dollars. So look, I think this is a complicated thing. I think the parents, students, teachers, schools, communities all need to be at the table around this. But I do think the best way to address this is to allow the state to set some general guidelines, to allow elected school boards to decide what's going to happen in their community, and to make it so that it is possible for folks who want to opt out of that system.